Chapter 376. It moves on all fours and it knows how to skillfully use its tail, a form that's somewhere between a beast and an insect. According to what you sent me before, it seems like it's hungry almost all day. Is that right? That's what they say, Kishi replied, looking down at Pethomet with an emotionless expression. It's a relatively common characteristic among monsters that absorb magic. They move by absorbing a small amount of magic that dwells in all things, using it as a source of energy. As Helem, who was circling around examining Pethomet, suddenly reached into her pocket and pulled out a glove. Ydir was startled and stepped forward, but Kishir and Nathan remained calm. Is it okay? The expert in this field is Helem. It's rare to find someone who's been studying monsters for over 70 years and still has all limbs intact. Leave me be. I was enjoying the concern of a handsome young man for a change. Such a thing. You used to say that you didn't care about Nathan's and my concern, so it seems my assistant is to your taste. I have never lost to good looks, but this is a little disappointing. Keshi raised an eyebrow and smiled shyly at Ydir. Helen doesn't compliment just anyone. It seems she quite likes the assistant. ... Ydir avoided answering. Anon, who had caught his eye, was grimacing more than before. Now, shall we start the collection? Helem tapped Pethomet's head with her hand inside the cage. The monster, apparently angered by the interruption to its meal, let out a small threatening sound and whipped its tail, which had turned black. But the attack bounced off the glove, not causing any harm. After repeating the same action a few times, Helem deftly shook off Pethomet, which had been dangling from the end of the glove, biting it, and turned away. Her expression, as she looked down at the glove smeared with the monster's venom, was incredibly calm, as if she had done this hundreds of times. Now, let's look at this side too. Helem, having taken off the glove, approached Ydir. You're tall, so it's hard to examine you. Sit down here. Yes. Ydir sat down as instructed. Helem, who had come close to Ydir's left eye, lightly touched the top of her glasses. The ordinary-looking lens changed to a dark color, concealing her green eyes. As she fearlessly moved Ydir's jaw this way and that, Ydir swallowed a strange and embarrassing feeling. The traces of the poison absorbed are not completely gone indeed. Helem, who had been peering into Ydir's unseen left eye, soon returned the lens color to its original state. I heard the monster follows you. Can I see it now? Grandmother, I said to wait, but you have already gone through everything? At that moment, someone ran down from the upper floor, huffing and puffing, and interrupted. The man, with his disheveled black hair like a bird's nest, was shameless even in the face of other people's stares. Looking at Pethomet inside the enclosure, he quickly brightened and approached. Ah, you are the monster that even swallowed the magic circle, huh? Cuter than I thought. Greeting your lord should be the priority. Helem frowned and spoke, and the man grumbled under his breath before turning around. Grandmother, it is your lordship, not mine. She always does this. Anyway, it's been a while, your highness. After hastily summoning me and making me wait for half a day, I had nothing to do but drink a little wine. I trust you'll overlook this much. Despite an audacious attitude that was hard to believe, Kishi rather smiled brightly. That's right, this one here is my assistant, Ydir Ale, and this one is Anon, a capable pharmacist of the cavalry who's studying treatment methods for injuries caused by that monster. You can introduce yourself. Ah, is this... A man who had been staring intently at Ydir with similar eyes to Helem's extended his hand for a handshake. I'm Mick Shuden. I run a trading company and I have been of great assistance in business dealings with Duke Paleta. I don't particularly like being addressed formally, so please call me Mick. Yudhir slowly shook his hand, feeling a peculiar sensation. Shudan is the surname. Mr. Shudan, who runs the trading company? When Kishir had asked where Shudan was upon entering, the situation had passed too quickly for Yudhir to think deeply about it. But upon hearing a proper introduction, strange suspicions arose when combined with his previously known profession. Shudan owned a trading company. The only place where those two overlapped was known to Yudhir. Excuse me, but what is the name of the trading company you run? The man, noticing Yudhir's probing gaze, smiled knowingly. Why, of course, it's Shudan Trading Company. Indeed, Yudhir finally confirmed his identity. Shudan Trading Company, despite its short history, had quickly become one of the famous trading companies on the continent, focusing on the trade of special luxury goods. Yudhir had thought it was necessary to recognize the connection when Kishir had casually used the company's badge during a secret visit to meet Revlin at Apeto House. He never expected to meet someone associated with that company in this manner. I didn't have time to pay attention to companies like that in my previous life. It seems His Highness didn't properly explain what I do. McShooden cheerfully asked, apparently interpreting Yudhir's contemplative expression in his own way. The commander mentioned that you ran a small trading company, but it seems there was a misunderstanding. Kishir, catching Yudhir's gaze, smiled faintly. Aha, our company isn't really that big, so I guess calling it small isn't entirely wrong. McShooden looked younger and more unbridled than one who would expect from someone running a famous trading company. But the moment he looked around Patuamat, his eyes completely changed. Really intriguing. To continuously eat and digest everything like this means it has good digestive ability, but its body is small. Its bodily fluids are all poison. It probably dissolves and digests with that, so it doesn't need to be big. When Helm, who was standing nearby, explained, Mick's eyes sparkled and he turned his head. Poison? You have collected some, haven't you, grandmother? I have, but don't think about stealing it. I won't give it to you. You gather your own. Oh, that's mean. I'm not as skilled as you, Grandma. It's hard for me. I have no intention of helping a merchant. As Mick and Helm exchanged words, Yudhir discreetly asked Kishir a question. How did you come to know the one who runs Shudan Trading Company? Well, it's a long story, but I happened to help quite a bit at the beginning of Shudan Trading Company. We have been maintaining a friendly relationship ever since. Shudan is someone who has keen interest in items made by Monster byproducts and has a wealth of related knowledge. That Kishir had helped Shudan Trading Company at the beginning was truly unheard of. Such an old friendship, and yet he did not stand up for Kishir of his previous life. Even after his death, Shudan Trading Company remained silent all along. In fact, not only Shudan, but everything associated with Kishir had been quiet. The Paleta Knights, Nathan Zuckerman, everyone related to Paleta had dispersed quietly and obediently around Kishir's death. The Emperor Kashtian had no need to even lift a finger. Such was the ease of victory, and previously there had been no need to think about what lay behind it. The remaining rebels who sensed defeat and did not diligently display loyalty but instead fled were a common occurrence in history. But now, memories that had seemed forgotten were somewhat revived, and things were different. Would those around Kishir have abandoned him so easily? Apart from Nathan Zuckerman, he could see how wholeheartedly all the knights and others around him followed him. And yet, if they dispersed without any resistance, there must have been some reason for it. Yudhir suddenly thought of the hypothesis he had never entertained before, looking at Kishir's smiling face. If all of this was according to Kishir's own will, before deciding whether it was possible to create a place of defeat for himself, surrounded by many who moved for him, or what the reason could have been, if there was one. His head ached with annoyance. Hey, assistant, weren't you going to show me that this monster follows you? I'm sorry, I didn't let you do it previously. Can you show me now? Before the headache continued, a call broke his thoughts. Yudhir slowly got up from his seat towards Mick and Helen. I'm not sure if it's possible now, but I will at least try. In fact, there was nothing worth calling an attempt. What Yudhir did at that time was just standing near Patumat's cage and moving his hand a little. Yudhir stood near the cage, looking down at Patumat's just like before. Whether due to being tormented by Mick and Helen's hand for a while, the little monster still had its tail raised, trembling. Yudhir slowly reached his hand towards the cage.